2020 was a hell of a year. Sir, let's talk about it, man.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
All right. It's a classic beat, too.
People gonna be mad at me. Yeah. Y'all know the crime bill affected lives still. And we ain't learned shit, that's how I feel. Time heals all, but the cuts gon' leave blind still. So we climb hills, capital C. Sometimes I wonder what these dudes at the capital C. When Biden needed advice, he went and asked the police. Send them straight to your hood to lock up half of your peace. And we celebrate his ass in the street. Sometimes I feel like all this shit is ass backwards. Put the pen to pad until I finish that chapter. I've been in my bag like that milk we had at lunch. I be putting rappers in check till I cash one. And y'all can watch me demonstrate how to keep my demons straight. Eat and feed my people plates until I up and leave this place. And if you a rat nigga, eat the Chuck E. Cheese's place. I can't seem to stop moving, think I really need some breaks. The preacher eat off Jesus' plate while you get on your knees and pray. You see, I say anything that I feel a need to say. And anybody want beef should just stop eating meat today. I cut out the meat and started planting seeds to lead a wave. We the type that ain't religious, but we still believe in grace. Yeah, and we all got dreams to chase. And at the end of the day, they'll be calling me a great. And if you ain't reach your goals, that's the cost of being safe. Hey, just admit it, I'm sicker than most rap artists. Please, I was thinking of heat when the last track started. And now I'm back harder than the smell of fat black niggas asphalt. And please pardon me, start the beat and start to spit. Niggas find it hard to leave. Roll it up and spark the tree. Drink it till it's hard to speak. Yeah, this may be rap to you. Nigga, this is art to me. Spitting is a part of me. I'm sick as clogged arteries. Honestly, I'm probably the best. Niggas hardly even come close. Roll up two Dutches like when little girls jump rope. Yeah, my niggas cutthroat. Maybe I should stop writing verses just to give these other rappers some hope. Mike, I think I'll choose another rhyme scheme. Come on, man. Ain't nobody fucking with my team. I ride clean, at least that's how the ride seem. If you take a look in my eyes, you can tell I need Visine. See, I guess I'm high as a bitch. And I'm kicking down the door with a rhyme in the clip. Every rapper hands up with their eyes on the kid and stink faces. Nigga, I'm with the shits. I'll erase them. They should write with a pen. They keep saying that he died for our sins, but why it seem like we dying for him? See, careful who you make an icon. Watch what they say with mics on. Weighted the world on my shoulders like I'm playing Zion. I told my girl we gon' make it, I promise. But if I'm being blatantly honest, the thought of not making it was making me nauseous. Self-doubt, I had you stressed out. Push myself up, now I flex with my chest out. Law of attraction, nigga, I can see the check now. My little brother told me I could be the best out. So if they want to test, I would pass that with an educated guess. Educate yourself before you educate the rest. Prepare to take the next step. Tell you a secret, I'm the best kept. They keeping secrets out your textbooks. Don't want to show you how the rest look. How many bullets in his chest look? You take it in, you take the stress from us. But you can't gang you. I see the snakes, but it ain't fam you. I make the little black kids think that they can too.
That is Comic Book Cam. Comic Book Cam is a new artist. I love his lyrics. I just wanted to finish up our discussion of Dr. Barbara Sizemore. Dr. Barbara Sizemore. So, having said that, let me just do the introduction first. And then after the introduction, I will go back to where we left off in the last video. So I'm kind of mixing this up a little bit, but I wanted you to hear the first part of Dr. Sizemore's lecture, only because it was so powerful first. And so let me just give you an idea of who she is. And so it's something peculiar about how she went to work for a complete Jewish school. I actually think it's not a bad idea, but guess what? Had we had the money to pay her, she came to work for us for a lot less. But we kicked her out of our schools. We didn't want this woman. We did not want her. Black America, you so-called Black America who voted for, you know what? Let me just not go, let me get off this soapbox rant. Here we go, y'all.
And my pleasure to introduce
up from the 9th and 10th percentile.
Oh, that's not what I wanted to happen.
Just make them normal.
It jumped because initially I played the other one and I had to save for y'all. So I'm gonna go back. I gotta put it back. Give me one sec here.
And I grew up in a blue collar town where you had to fight.
We don't want to
My
hear about him.
PhD. Then I met some really smart people, like Barbara Sizemore. And I have been humbled from that day forward. Barbara Sizemore picked up a book in Latin and started reading it when she was in high school. They had no instruction in it at all. Barbara Sizemore went to Northwestern University in the days when you could not live on the campus of Northwestern University, and graduated from Northwestern University summa cum laude in classics when she...
In other words, at Northwestern University, unless you were black, unless you were white, unless you were white, you could not live on the campus.
Was 19. Okay?
So she graduated at 19.
That's when I found out what it meant to be really smart. We were the only two African Americans in a special program at the University of Chicago when I first met her, and it gave me the appropriate humility about learning and about brightness from then on. Barbara earned her PhD at the University of Chicago, as I did. She had distinguished career as an educator in elementary and secondary education. She taught everything at every level. She was an elementary principal, one of the outstanding ones in Chicago. And against my advice, took a tough high school in Chicago and turned it around. The superintendent promised her that he was going to give her the resources that she needed to do it. I told her he was lying. I was right. She took the school anyway, and she turned it around and all of that. She became superintendent at Washington, D.C. She finished one phase of her career at Pitt, where she became a department chairman, a professor in several departments, and director of research, and thought she was going to retire and write books. However, the president of DePaul University in Chicago knew about Barbara and talked her out of retirement, told her to come and take over the deanship of the College of Education, and he would back her because their number one priority was to improve public education in Chicago. Barbara came out. She took it, she just retired from the second phase of her career and is getting ready to start the third phase of her career in education now. She is a tireless advocate for poor people. She is a tireless advocate for Black children and youth getting the kind of quality education they need. And it is my great pleasure to present to you my friend and colleague and one of the brightest people I have ever met in my life, Barbara Sizemore.
You know, my mother also graduated college, not with a master's degree, but she did graduate college, and I believe 4 years of college at 19, because she was really brilliant. We have a lot of brilliant people who are, Black folk got brilliant folks who are never given any credit. My mother also worked with Dr. DeBakey. That's right, Dr. DeBakey. The one they claim performed the first heart surgery. Well, we now know the first heart surgery was performed in ancient Egypt. But she worked with that doctor at a county hospital. Let me just finish up where we were before, and then look out for my next upcoming YouTube post with Dr. Joy DeGroot. Here we go.
In 1992, ladies and gentlemen, only 9.7% of these African-American children performed at the national norm on the Iowa test of basic skills in reading. They are now at the 21st percentile in reading and at the 29th in mathematics. And what's different about Spencer, ladies and gentlemen, is there are 1,400 kids there on the same campus in 2 schools. Now, people tell you got to have small schools to do this trick. Bunk. You just got to have competent, committed people. Michelle Clark Middle School. Michelle Clark Middle School just escaped probationary status this year, coming from 9.7% in reading in 1992 to 22.3% in 98. And from 13.4% in mathematics in 92 to 21.2% in 98. Carver Primary School went from 6.3% in 95 to 35% in 98 in reading, and from 26% to 65% in mathematics in 1998. Emmett, 13% in 94, 25.1% in 95 in reading, 16% in mathematics, and 32% now. Mays Academy, Overton. I mean, I can give you all these schools. What's the matter with us that we do not realize that we can do this? We know how to do this. The thing is, you gotta make the people earning the paychecks do it. You gotta make them do it. In 1998, Overton was the most successful elementary school, rising from 25.9% in reading, from 9.8, and 39.1% in mathematics from 12.5. It's more difficult to make this happen in high schools because, as many people know, a lot of these African-American high school students have developed an attitude. This attitude is interesting to examine, ladies and gentlemen, because it's an attitude which is developed because of our neglect. Because these students know we don't care whether they learn anything or not. And so this attitude protects them from our disdain and from our contempt. In the high schools, Westinghouse Vocational continues to lead our high schools in growth and development at 17.7%. But you got to remember, it came from 4. And 20.8% in mathematics, which is up from 14. African-American children can do whatever we want them to do. They can do it. All you need is a teacher who knows what he or she is teaching. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we know.
I hate to interrupt Dr. Sizemore, but you know, for generations, racist white people told Black people that they couldn't do certain things. They no longer have to say it. Upper class Black folk, millionaire Black folk now are saying that the same thing that racist whites were saying. These kids can't do nothing. These kids, they can't do. These kids can't. Racism is no longer has white skin.
Oh, that African-American children fail algebra tests because they have this tremendous problem understanding divisibility and infinity. If your teacher doesn't know what the devil those are, how can he or she help this child overcome this disability? You can teach divisibility by combining information about fractions, decimals, percentages, and teach them all through ratio. There is not an algebra problem that you could design that does not conform to one of 3 rules. Association, commutation, and associated commutation. Oh, you know, this is the worst thing about aging. I really hate this. Distribution. I don't mind getting old, but the loss of my memory is the worst thing that can happen to me. Private schools unregulated by the state have problems. They can raise tuition, select their students, suspend or expel students, recruit uncertified teachers, reject evaluations, and actually, there's no way of knowing whether the students can even read. It was not until the chief executive officer of Chicago Public Schools made the private schools that are in the Chicago public school system. We have a lot of those. These are schools that are set up by people, they're public schools, but teachers have run them or whatever. There are a lot of those. But nobody knew what the kids could do. So when Paul Vallis made them all take tests, guess what we found out? Kids couldn't read them either. That's interesting. That's interesting. Sizer was in, did you all read this in the New York Times yesterday? Now Sizer runs the coalition of essential schools, We have about 10 of them in Chicago. Can't anybody read them either. But ladies and gentlemen, he gets a lot of good press. And a lot of African-American people believe that these coalition of essential schools is the answer to our problems. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, a real good indicator of whether or not a program is meeting the needs of African-American children is to first find out, can they read? If they can't read, dump it and find something else. Okay, there's a mountain of data, ladies and gentlemen, a mountain of data that shows that direct instruction pays for children who need structure. Remember Reverend Flake said they put on their uniform? Hello. They put on their uniform and come to the school, okay. A lot of African-American children need structure. They need structure because the whole environment is unstructured for them. You know, when you look in the mirror, it looks like you're looking at yourself, right? But the things are reversed, but it looks good, okay? Okay, remember that about our children. They come into this racist environment which tries to obscure the fact that white supremacy is the highest value, you know, next to money and sex. And they're looking at this and wondering why it's not making sense to them, okay? So they're structured for their own destruction. All right, that's what I call unstructured, because anything that does not develop a human being is not structured for that human being. Okay, let me hurry up. What can you do about all of this? Well, one thing you can do about all this is know what you want in the school. Now, the main thing that Ron Edmonds left with us was that if you want to have a school that works, you've got to have an instructional leader who knows what he or she is doing and who can run a school. You know, you got to have somebody who's going to say, the buck stops here. Like, you know, if you got a problem, I know what to do about it, and I'm going to help you out with that. Okay, you got to know that.
I guess if y'all can't get y'all money, eventually y'all gonna cancel.
Now, if you got a Clarence Thomas type leader, you got to get rid of him or her. Look, people are entitled to believe whatever they want to believe. They are. This is a free country. I'm not going to take the First Amendment away from him. He can believe whatever he wants to believe, and he can do whatever he wants to do. This is a free country. Thank God for many blessings. But if the leader of your school is not bringing about a good instructional program for your children, you have to get rid of that person. I don't care if he or she is Black. If it's a white person who can do it, hire him or her quickly. Got to have strong instructional leadership. You got to have an academic press emphasizing the mastery of basic skills, reading and mathematics, and consistently monitor it. Our kids have to be monitored. They're accustomed to it. They will ask you for it. And if you don't give them a program, they will give one to you.
Better know it.
You've got to have high expectations, safety and security, a climate conducive to learning. We learned all of this in 1977 from Ron Edmonds. Remember that. We already know this. This is not something you've heard for the first time. You already know this. So the first thing you want to do then is choose a strong instructional leader. Okay. Now, after that, what do you want this person to do? You want this person to know how your children are performing. You want him or her to know what are the pitfalls on these tests for our children. I've already told you one. In mathematics, it's infinity and divisibility. There's no reason in the world why African-American children cannot be taught infinity in kindergarten. There's no reason in the world why we have to take just the positive line and not introduce them to the negative line. You can have these children learn that zero intercepts the negative from the positive, and they can at least begin understanding it in kindergarten. Our lines only go positive. So, whoa, when you get to ninth grade, you finally find out there's some negative numbers. What the devil do these mean? And then you have to integrate them. That's infinity. All right. I already talked to you about divisibility. Reading is the most complicated subject for our children because we speak Ebonics. Now, I know there are a lot of, this is a generational problem. I know there are a lot of African Americans who deny that they speak Ebonics. In fact, I interviewed one teacher and he told me that he would never teach Ebonics in his class. This was an African American. And I said to him, I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, then you don't teach a life for me ain't been no crystal staff. It don't have taxing. I said, you don't teach that, right? He said, oh, well, I do teach Langston Hughes. I said, oh, then you teach Ebonics.
Well.
So he said, you're trying to confuse an issue. I said, oh, okay, clear me up. Or as Maulana Karega says, rescue me. He had a hard time and told me that I'd already made up my mind, so it wasn't any sense for him to talk to me anymore about it.
Well,
I knew that I had won that argument. Look, I speak Ebonics to my father. He would be concerned if I didn't. Yeah, I tell my father, now I'm fitting to do that. Because he likes to give me orders, you know, and I said, okay, I'm fitting to do that. I don't say I'm fitting to do it at DePaul.
y'all know y'all love Dr. Barbara.
I'm what you call a switcher. I'm what my daughter and I talk Black English all the way to the meeting.
Yeah, she said switcher. We say code talk, but I say I'm multilingual.
We get to the meeting, we switch to standard English. I don't feel any less self-esteem when I'm speaking Ebonics to my father than I do speaking standard English at DePaul. They're both of equal value to me. Mm-hmm. One I speak with the people I love, the other one I speak with the people who don't love me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Our children have to learn to be switchers. It's our obligation to teach them that. It's our obligation. Look. This whole language thing does not always fit our children. Does that mean we need to abandon it? No. But we have to have some kind of phonics program with it to teach our children how to read. Once they learn how to read, then you can use whole language to teach them to read to learn. I mean, everything has its place in this world. All right. Now, if you know that children are having problems sounding out words, you have to teach them what those 44 sounds are. Look, for Spanish-speaking children, the vowels are very constant. A is always A. O is always O. U is always U. I is always E. All right? O is always O. Always. So if you want to start a speaking child to say F-A-T, you've got to teach him that A says A. Otherwise, he's going to say pot, and the African-American kids are going to fall out of the seat laughing. Now, African-American children have the reverse. African-American children have too many short vowel sounds for standard English. That's why so many of us say, ask me a question. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, look, let me hurry on here. If we know these things about our children, why don't we teach them what they should know? What is our problem? What is our problem? African-American children need to learn English grammar. So do Spanish-speaking children. The language is not the most consistent language in the world. The short vowel sounds are crazy. They don't obey any rules. And therefore, you've got to help these children understand this deficiency in standard English. If you don't, they will give you what they have. And they will continue to give it to you until you teach them otherwise. So if you don't want me to say, ask me the question, you have to teach me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing I want to close with, and I didn't save this for last because it's least, is that you've got to teach children from their own experiences and their own culture. Look, African-American culture in this country did not begin with enslavement. It began with the exploration period. The city of Chicago was founded by Jean-Baptiste Dupin du Sable. He was not a slave.
He was a Moor.
He was an explorer.
He was a Moor.
There was the African.
He was a Huguenot.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, those stone heads at Tres Zapotes, at La Venta, and at San Fernando in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico are Africans. I don't care what kind of lies people are telling. Go down there and look for yourself. Look at pictures of them. If these people with these big fat noses and big lips and diencephalous heads were walking around the streets of Philadelphia, wouldn't anybody be calling them white or Indian? Look at them yourself. Make sense out of this. Just use common sense. There are only two places in the world where there are pyramids, the Yucatan Peninsula and Egypt. I mean, for God's sakes, why is white supremacy so important to us that we are willing to distort the historical evidence to fit the needs of it? And why are we arguing for Western civilization, which is just a masquerade for white supremacy? Bernie gave us a lesson about Philadelphia the other night that I'm sure a lot of Philadelphians don't know, because it is omitted, discarded, obscured, demeaned. Listen, not valued. Absolutely, Ike. To infuse the culture of African-American students into the curriculum, the teacher must be informed of material which has been omitted from the curriculum about their life, history, and culture. And one way to do this is to start with Egypt as the African country similar to Rome or Greece for European Americans. I am so tired of seeing African Americans on television say, well, the Greeks said. I said, oh, for God's sake, would somebody educate this brother?
Yeah.
Look, all roads lead to Egypt. And for God's sake, when you talk to your children about it, please put Egypt back in Africa. It never left. It never left. Talk about the history of African Americans in the United States. Please start with the African exploration. There has to be some explanation for these African heads in the Olmec culture of Mexico. There has to be some explanation. They didn't just drop down here from Mars. Look, there has to be some explanation of the African village that was described by Balboa in his diary when he landed at Panama. There has to be some explanation. There has to be some explanation for what happened to the 199 ships of Abubakar II of Mali. There has to be some explanation. There has to be some explanation. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the African-American culture has to be integrated into the curriculum. It has to be taught, and it has to be stressed in order for African-American children to understand that they too are of worth and have contributed to the quality of life on this planet. Lastly, we got to worry over the special ed thing. We got to worry over it. We have to worry over it. Look, there's no such thing as a homogeneous group. God didn't make one and you can't either. Any group you get together is going to be heterogeneous. Now you can take all the short-haired people in this room, put them over there on that side, and the long-haired people over here, and you have a heterogeneous group of short-haired people and a heterogeneous group of long-haired people. There's no such thing. So why are we using such imprecise language to describe what we do to children? Why are we doing that? And then call ourselves educated and scientists, some of us. Stop using it. It's a meaningless word. It only applies to milk. Any group that you want to make, and you have to make a decision as to how you want this group to be formed so you can teach it whatever you want to teach it. Last, instruction must have these signal characteristics. Teach what is worth knowing. If it's not worth knowing, stop teaching it. I have never used one, not a really with the sugar salt of the drink the march and pass it to the rot and bars of every vein and swish liqueur, of which there two engendered is the fluor. I never used it. Meet the needs of the students. Teach to high standards. Motivate, inspire, excite. Nobody likes to sit down and listen to a dumb dog person. Engage the student in doing. Use materials that are current and meet many learning styles. Relate every lesson to the culture and life of the student. Provide more time and more people people to students who fall behind. Push in is better than pull out, and add on is better than both. Stop putting these pull out programs in here. Add on gets both. Push in gets more people. Add on gives more people and more time. Provide a syllabus. Know what you're teaching. Hire teachers who know what they are teaching. Stop hiring dumb people to teach our children in the school. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Look, if you want schools to change, you must do something now. In the present, people talk about the past. People talk about the future. This is the now, the present, the now. You and I have to make public schools better. Private schools have neither the capacity nor the capitalistic design to solve this problem. We need to improve public schools, and we need to do it now.
Love Dr. Barbara Sizemore. I wanted to jump in there and say some stuff, y'all. I really did. She is amazing. I didn't share the screen on that one. I apologize for the little phone call. Some business I forgot to take care of. A lot going on, y'all. And I'm 53. I'm like Dr. Sizemore. Aging does help take away your memory. I found some things that have helped me with it, though. So I took care of the most important things. I guarantee you that. As I was saying before I digressed, Barbara Sizemore said so much in there, man. Let me tell you something. I've got another video that just came to mind, and I believe I'm going to add it to the videos that I want to discuss on this YouTube. It is about a school here in Texas, in a predominantly white neighborhood, who socially had no idea that racism is had by calling Black children nigger. It was funny to them. It was a prank. It was a joke. And they couldn't see what the big deal was. This thing went all the way into legislation. The white people in the neighborhood developed a PAC, a political action group, who donated and raised several $1,000s to put a white political science lawyer as the head of their school board. Lake something or another, but I'll do a quick video on that one. I just wanted to let you guys, and here again, the other thing I wanted to say. I love how Barbara Sizemore, Dr. Barbara Sizemore, takes the responsibility of making our plight in the United States better by putting the responsibility on us and not Joe Biden or Trump or Clinton or Obama. It ain't their responsibility. It's ours. Vote in a plebiscite that's being held right now for your own self-governing, so we can implement the rules, laws, and policies in a government that is of, for, and by the people. Black America. Be self-sufficient. Grandmaster Jay said it. Well, we want no help from these outside people. Obama's an outside person. I don't care what you people who love him so much say. His mama was white and his daddy was Kenyan. He didn't grow up with the real Black experience. He didn't grow up with a real Black experience. He only got into it when he got into college. He did not grow up in a real Black experience in this country. He was sheltered. So I'm sick of y'all looking for a savior. Ain't nobody coming to save us. We gotta save our damn selves. And we're too fucking brilliant to let this shit continue. Open roads to success, understanding some courage, strength, and protection to the people. Peace. I'm out.